finally getting around to making a new video, and as you can see, it is going to be about some good old thrash metal, my picks for the 10 best of the genre. And my taste is not the same as some of these big sites where you always see Master of Puppets and Rain and Blood 1 and 2. Those are good albums, but pretty overrated if you ask me. They will not be on this list. I feel like I put together a pretty fair ranking of underrated and overlooked albums that deserve more recognition, and some of the bigger, more well-known albums that you would typically see on a list like this. So here we go. Starting the list off at number 10 is going to be Night of the Stormrider by Iced Earth. Great album from start to finish, and some of you may be thinking Iced Earth isn't a thrash metal band, but they are on this album more than anything. Of course, there is elements of US power metal and traditional on here, but it's definitely more thrash than anything. A ton of very fast, galloping, and amazing riffs by Jon Schaffer, who happens to be the best rhythm guitarist in all of metal ever. Great player, and this was the only album to feature John Greeley on vocals. He sang on every song except for Stormrider, which is where Schaffer sang, and I think that this album definitely is their best, and it has a lot of their classics: Angel's Holocaust, Stormrider, Traveling in Stygian, a lot of great tracks. They play a lot of these live all the time still. And definitely would recommend it to anyone who wants to get into Iced Earth if they have not done so yet. Start with this album, amazing, but I would say their best song is Dante's Inferno, which is not on this album. That's on Burnt Offerings. But overall, Night of the Stormrider, their strongest from start to finish. Very solid album. Came out in '91. Definitely check it out. In at number 9 is going to be the New Machine of Liechtenstein by the band Holy Moses. They're from Germany, and dare I say, the best German thrash metal band of all time, folks. Amazing band, a lot of great albums, and this is my absolute favorite German thrash album. It was pretty close between this and Reborn Dogs, which one I wanted to pick by them. Both great albums, but this one just has a slight edge because I think the guitar solos are a lot better and more technical by the guitarist Andy Klassen. Amazing player, tons of great riffs and solos all over the album, start to finish. Sabina Klassen on vocals. She is a great thrash metal vocalist, and they were actually married for a while, and they've gotten divorced since, but that's pretty cool that they were in the band together. And Uli Kusk, I don't know exactly how to pronounce his last name, but many of you may know him from being in Halloween and Gamma Ray after this, but he played on 3 Holy Moses albums. Great drummer, and my favorites on this album are definitely Near Dark and Panic, but you can't go wrong anywhere on the album, start to finish. Very consistent, great album, technical thrash metal from Germany. Give it a listen if you haven't done so yet. Taking the number 8 spot is going to be Soldiers of Misfortune by the band Sacrifice. Very great, underrated thrash metal band from Canada. They are a part of Canada's Big Four, along with Voivod, Annihilator, and Razor. But, you know, I feel like they deserve a lot more attention. They have 5 albums total, all good, but this one here is just on another level for me. They were clicking on all cylinders. Bass, drums, guitar, vocals, all sound amazing on this album. Rob Urbanati, good vocalist for thrash, and his guitar tone along with Joe Rico, amazing on the album. Love it. My favorites on it are probably Existence Within Eternity, As the World Burns, and the title track, but you really can't go wrong with any of the tracks Very consistent start to finish. Amazing overlooked thrash metal album. Definitely give it a listen if you have not heard it yet and you want to get into Sacrifice. This is where you do it, right here with Soldiers of Misfortune. In at number 7 is going to be Horrorscope by Overkill. Now, I wasn't around yet back then, but I imagine that most Overkill fans were a little bit concerned when Bobby Gustafson left the band. He was their original guitarist for the first 4 albums, and Overkill came back even stronger and better than ever, putting out the best album of their career. First one without Bobby. They came back with Merritt Grant and Rob Canavino on guitar, so they went with 2 guitarists as opposed to 1 on the first 4 albums. And it is their best album in my opinion. Very strong from start to finish, as all of these albums are. My favorites on it are Coma, Thanks for Nothing, and Nice Day for a Funeral. Bobby Blitz, of course, great vocals as always for thrash. You know, he's a great thrash metal vocalist. Dee Verney, great bass, and Sid Falk, last album to feature him on drums. Very strong album. Number 7, Horoscope by Overkill. Number 6, No Place for Disgrace by the great Flotsam and Jetsam, a very underrated and overlooked band. They deserve a ton more attention than they get. A ton of really good albums all the way up through the 2000s and now. But this one is definitely their strongest and best in my opinion. And one of the main reasons that I think they stand out is the great vocals of Eric, A.K. Knudsen. Great vocalist. I'd say the best thrash metal vocalist of all time. Amazing. Just listen to the screams in the song I Live, You Die, and you'll see why I think this. But, you know, I Live, You Die, title track, and I'd probably say Escape from Within are my top 3 favorites on the album. Awesome from start to finish. Check it out if you have not done so yet. Flotsam and Jetsam, No Place for Disgrace. Into the top 5 now, and I'm going to start it off with By Inheritance by Artillery, a great Danish thrash metal band. This album has a very unique sound, awesome from start to finish. Flemming Ronsdorf did a great job on vocals, but the thing that stands out is the guitar tone and guitar playing by the Stutzer brothers, Michael and Morton, awesome players. Favorite songs on it are probably Comaniac, Equal at First, and I'd probably say Don't Believe, but all of them really good songs. By Inheritance, Artillery, number 5. Starting off the final 4 is going to be Seasons in the Abyss by Slayer. Awesome album from start to finish. Now, they have a ton of really good albums, but this one is just a notch above the rest for me. I'd probably say my top 3 favorite songs on it are Spirit in Black, Hallowed Point, and probably the title track. You know, Tom Araya is an absolute beast. Jeff Hanneman is a beast. Freaking Dave Lombardo is a beast. Kerry King was there. And yes, Seasons in the Abyss, number 4. Great album. Next. In at number 3 is Neverland by Annihilator. Definitely my favorite album from them. Don't get me wrong, Alice in Hell is really good. I just think this album is a step above that. Overall, I think the songs are better and more consistent, and I like Coburn Farr's vocals a bit better than Randy Rampage on Alice in Hell. But as always, Jeff Waters is the driving force behind Annihilator. Awesome guitarist overall. The riffs, the solos, the songwriting, all amazing. I'd probably say my favorites on this album are The Fun Palace, Imperiled Eyes, and Phantasmagoria. So yeah, number 3 all time for thrash in my opinion. Neverland by Annihilator. Taking the number 2 spot is Peace Sells, But Who's Buying by Megadeth. Freaking amazing album. Great musicianship all the way around from Chris Poland, Gar Samuelson, David Ellefson, and Dave Mustaine. Great songs. I'd probably say my top 3 are Good Morning Black Friday, My Last Words, and Devil's Island. You know, one of my favorites of all time. Not much more to be said about it. An absolute masterpiece. Peace Sells, But Who's Buying? Number 2 greatest thrash metal album of all time. The greatest thrash metal album of all time, the greatest metal album in general of all time, and the greatest album in the history of music, regardless of genre. Rust in freaking Peace, a masterpiece. The first Megadeth album with Marty and Nick Menza, along with Dave Mustaine and David Ellefson. Great lineup, very good chemistry, amazing musicianship from everybody, and especially Marty Friedman. His solos, insane on this album. Tornado of Souls, probably the greatest metal solo ever, and you know, Dave Mustaine's songwriting is amazing as usual. I'd probably say my favorite songs are Holy Wars, Hangar 18, and Rust in Peace Polaris, but all amazing. So number 1 on this list for me, greatest thrash metal album of all time, and my favorite album in general is Rust in Peace, but also some more honorable mentions. Well, it's the first time I've mentioned honorable mentions, but I should have done this earlier. A few that were pretty close to making it were Survive by Nuclear Assault, The New Order by Testament, Reborn Dogs by Holy Moses, Endgame by Megadeth, and really, honestly, several other Megadeth albums, but those were the closest to making it. I could list, like, a ton more, but we don't got time for that. And until next time, thank you for watching.